So that's why I was wondering if, because I wasn't prepared to be on air.
Well, you're on air. You can handle it. How are you doing today?
Okay, okay.
So I am talking with the world's greatest, Shawn Newell, who is an avid, responsive person in this community. How long have you lived in Utah, Shawn?
Going on 41 years now.
41 years, and you've seen a lot of unique changes taking place, and probably none as unique as what's happening today.
Yeah, it's been quite an experience over the years, coming here in 1980 to where we are now in, 2021.
Jeez. Interesting community, but most definitely in a community that you can put your footprint in and make a change. And that's some of the things you're doing. Tell me some of the things that you are involved in these days.
I'm part of a number of different boards. I'm on the board of higher education here for the state of Utah, where I'm actively serving as the committee chair for the technical colleges here in the state. I serve as the vice president for Salt Lake Branch NAACP. I serve on some other boards, the Utah Manufacturers Association. I've served as a trustee for Salt Lake Community College. I'm on the board for the Road Home now, and then also Friends for Sight. And then also I serve on the board of the Utah Nonprofit Association. I probably have missed something, but there's a number of boards that I serve on, and then also just making sure I serve as a community advocate. So I'm working in different spaces here in our community to make sure that we can shift some narratives that are existing that are, you know, harming some of our more underserved communities, and then also just bridging communities to make sure that we all understand that we're in this together and we've got to work together to become a better place for everyone.
Well, you and I grew up in environments that the community was somewhat self sufficient in that it had grocery stores and bakeries and banks and movie theaters and all those kinds of things within it. Therefore, the community could sustain itself. You worked there, you lived there, you played there, and you spent your money there. And that has changed dramatically. And I think that that's one of the things that have initially changed our communities, especially in the underserved communities. They have to go somewhere else to shop for food, groceries, and in some cases even banking. They have to go out of their community to exist or subsist or whatever. Are you finding now, especially now, COVID has made a big impact on how we function, that is ever more important that we put those things back in to the underserved communities?
I think it's critical because we're talking about access, right? We're talking about the ability to survive when you have minimal opportunities to reach outside of your community. Transportation is a huge, huge problem in a lot of underserved communities, and not just transportation for the individual, but for individuals to be able to move their families around and to be
Right.
able to provide, get services for their family members that are necessary. A mother of, one or multiple children getting on public transportation is not the same as being able to load your kids in a car and get them to the doctor.
Right.
And it's, these disparities have existed for a long time, but the further that we push out the opportunities for businesses and facilities and services to be within communities, we start to really put people in a bad place. And that's what we need to be conscious of. So when we're looking at zoning, when we're looking at opportunities for businesses to move to areas um, where they can better serve,
Right.
people that don't have access, is something that we really need to take a look at.
So we've got a broad spectrum of issues and causes and the need to care for. As you know, living with pride is all about serving and facilitating our aging population. And I often tell the viewers, the listeners, and the people that I'm dealing with, don't confuse the word living with pride and living and aging with pride with the fact that you think we're only talking to aging, but we're talking about all levels of individuals, because preparation is the key for success. And if we start preparing at a young age to prepare for our lives at an older age, we're going to do better all the way around, and we're going to make a better community.
Yes, and that's really important. We talk about preparation. Preparation is difficult when we're young because we have a different mindset. We're in that me, let me move ahead mindset.
Right.
And many of us, by the time we get to the age where we have to start considering, retirement or shifting careers, we find ourselves in a bad spot. Not being able to do so with some level of comfort that
Right.
allows us to be able to do that, because we talk to ourselves and fool ourselves that we can do the same things that we did when we were 25, and it's not true.
Hold
We
it.
don't have that same.
You're speaking for yourself there, young man. I still got the spirit, you know what I mean?
Oh, the spirit is there, the mind is there, but the body changes.
So we must, as we get older, stay fit, eat right, take care of ourselves so we can continue to nurture our communities, because I think the wisdom of the aging is ever more needed now than ever before. And I don't want to make this seem like doomsday is here, but we surely have got to start thinking about how we take that next step and what that next step is.
Yeah, you touched on something that's really important. Um, the fact that wisdom has to exist, and we also have to be willing to listen to those that have been around longer, that are just a little bit wiser than us. It
Right.
helps us to avoid a lot of pitfalls. But we also, to do that, we have to have conversation. We have to be able to speak to one another respectfully, and with some semblance of understanding that we don't know it all when we're having a conversation, and we may learn something new by listening. And that's one of the biggest issues in our society today, is we're talking at each other and we're not talking with each other. And we need to be talking with each other so that we gain a greater understanding of where each of us are in our space. I mean, it doesn't matter what age we are, we all have something to contribute, and we just have to illuminate that through dialogue.
And ladies and gentlemen, I'm talking to Shawn Newell, who is an entrepreneur who is working with the Multicultural Civic Council. He's on a number of boards. And I was going to ask this question early. Mr. Newell, you're on a number of boards, and sometimes we spread ourselves thin, but it's that thinness that brings the thickness of our community, because now you're everywhere, you're seen everywhere, you're working everywhere, and that's the whole thing that you're working toward, is creating more inclusion for everybody.
Yes, and for me, it's important to do it through my visibility, to let people know that you can get into these spaces if you're willing to do the work. You can have opportunities to be sponsored by someone to get into this work. I had two appointments from Governor Herbert, and I would have never thought that Governor Herbert would have appointed me to these positions. And it came down to the fact that I was visible to him and through other people. And when we look at, leadership, we're all leaders. And we have to remember that each and every one of us are a leader in some way, shape, manner, or form. And if we may be leading one person, we may be leading ourselves.
Right.
But it's important that we understand that we have a responsibility to not just ourselves, but to our entire communities. And sometimes it's a lot of roles that you have to play to be able to do that. But for me, being visible and letting people see, especially young men and women that look like me, that don't look like the rest of their community, letting them know that there's spaces available to them if they're willing to do the work, if they're willing to network, if they're willing to develop relationships.
Well,
And that those things are huge.
Well, I tell you what, I am extremely proud of you, and I'm honored that you would spend some time with me. And I'm hoping to spend a lot of time with you and tap into that wisdom that you have, because most assuredly you're demonstrating that that wisdom is a direct need in this community. And I'm hoping that from this or from whatever other relationship you have, they recognize that Shawn Newell is contributing to the best of this community. Uh, I understand, and I heard this through the grapevine, and not from what's her name who used to sing that song. I heard it through the grapevine. Gladys Knight. I didn't hear it from Gladys Knight,
Yeah.
but you're about to run for, is it city council or what is it you're about to run for?
Yes.
And what district?
Running for the third district city council seat in Cottonwood Heights.
Okay. And why did you choose to run?
I chose to run because I think I have something to contribute. I believe that I have an opportunity here to be able to widen the lens of our community and the people that are in charged or charged with making sure we have a community that's safe, that's conducive to collaboration, so that the majority of the citizens, of course, not everybody's going to get what they want, but the majority that of things that we need in this city are getting taken care of. We're not just putting them on the books saying we're going to do things, but actually putting some action behind some of the action items. And for me, it's an opportunity also to just illuminate the fact that we don't all know who can contribute to our community without giving people a chance. So I'm looking just to open up the doors to more inclusion within our community, and then also just opening up the doors to that understanding that it takes a village to to grow in a positive direction, and that village for us would be the city. And putting all the pieces together in a way that's conducive and transparent for all of the citizens is something that's really critical for me.
Very good. So, what can we do to help you get to where everybody knows your name and everybody wants to vote for you?
Well, I don't know the pathway, but the votes are nice. But I'm getting ready to. I'm trying to put together my team right now,
Right.
and looking for help. But there's going to come a time when we have to go out and knock on doors and hand out flyers and let people know that I'm running. So I'm looking for people to volunteer to do that. We're not a huge district, but it's enough ground to where I don't want to have a list of just simply the voters that are registered, because the impact that I would have as a council member is for everybody.
Right.
Those things are for everyone. So I want to knock on every single door to make sure that people know that I'm running and I care about them, and I care about our city and the direction that we're going in.
And,
So volunteer work like that, volunteerism is what I'm looking for here in the
But
future.
I really commend you, because I think the process, so often we elect people because we hear their name or it's in front of us on television or radio 500,000 times a day because they've spent that money to advertise. And what I like about what you've done is that you have built a platform of understanding what's needed in a broad scope space of what the community needs, whether it's education, whether it's economic development, whether it's jobs, all of those things, healthcare, wealth, and all of those things are factors in making a thriving, growing, developing community. And you have immersed yourself in becoming involved in a variety of those issues without thought of what it could do for you later rather. And this is an indication that you or spending your time on knowing and understanding what the people need. And it's time for our political involvees, if you will, learn about all the things that's needed in our community, and you're doing a great job on that. So, uh, anything that I can do to help and support that quest, please call on me, because we need honesty and integrity, but most importantly, we need knowledge about what our communities need in our political arena. And you have surely built a foundation that thrives on knowledge about what it is we need to do to help those who are less fortunate. So I am honored and pleased and bless you for that, my friend.
Thank you. That's where I'm headed, is just to make sure that we're we're very visible, and then people know, especially those that are in leadership, know what the citizens really want. And sometimes we don't know what we want until we something is illuminated to us
Right,
that gives us an aha moment. So that's where transparency comes in, where you want to be able to make everything visible to the
right,
entire community so people can make informed choices. And a lot of times that's missing, where people can't, they think that their choices are narrow, when actually they're pretty wide. And and we tend to get focused on issues that benefit us,
right.
and that's in the singular. It has to benefit the we. And
Hmm.
until we get to that point, we're going to continue to have problems. But we have to work together, and we have to understand all the things that are available to us when making decisions. And sometimes it's hard for people to really grasp onto, because they don't want too much coming at them. But you don't want to miss something and create a gap within your
Right.
community either. Gaps are harmful to those that are in that gap, and you have to minimize gaps to the best of your ability. And that takes careful work, that takes
Absolutely.
conscious work, and those are the things I want to bring in.
Well, I love the word benefit we, and I'm going to start using that. We've got to start benefiting we. Hey, thank you
Yep,
for being on this show. I know I kind of sprung it on you, but I like the fact
that's
that
okay.
I could spring it on you because you stood up and you represented yourself. How do we find out more about your campaign? How do we find out more about what you're doing? Is there a place we can go to and check it and read and learn about who you are and lend our support?
Yes, I have a Facebook page that I'm adding content to on a regular basis now. Of course, this is really new in the process, but it's under my name, elect Shawn Newell. And you can catch up with me and like it on Facebook. And I'll be filling in more content. I filled in some this weekend about, how I got here, my experience with coming here to play football for the University of Utah. And I'm going to add some more, interesting things. Not that I'm that interesting, but I'm going to add that content to the page, so people really get a chance to get a feeling of who I am and what I'm about. And then getting closer to, the period in between election and now, I'll ramp it up to get into some more issues and topics that I think are really critical for people to understand what my position is on those. So yeah, Facebook is going to be my number one way. I've got my cell phone number on there. I've got my email address on there. I want to be open to people's comments. I want to be open to understanding things that I don't know. Somebody may have some advice for me, or somebody may want to warn me that this is not where I want to go. But I want to make sure that I'm.
Well, I tell you one thing, I might be just a little bit more wiser than you, because there's a lot we can learn from you. There's a lot you bring to the table. And I'm just honored that I've tapped into that and able to share that with the viewers and listeners who might be paying attention to Living and Aging with Pride. John, you're a good man. Thank you for being a guest today. God bless you. And again, I support you 1,000%, because you are what we need in our total community. God bless you. And you have a great day. Okay, my brother?
Thank you for having me. Take care.